all moments for
Sorry.
all moments from I'm not even on a PC, I'm on a laptop, which usually works fine, and everything just froze, at 5 to 7. So I'm sorry to keep you waiting. So I will call the meeting to order at 7:07 with my apologies. And let's see if can I share my screen? I've got a short reflection. Oh, can you let me share my screen, Cameron?
It should be able to work now.
Oh, okay. Okay, are you guys seeing that?
Starting to.
The value of trees to a community?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I just thought this kind of tied in with some of the things that we're working on, like the tree inventory and trying to, thinking about ways to spread the word to homeowners about the value of their trees. So I just found this on the Arbor Day website. I just thought it had some interesting facts that I'm sure are already things that you guys know, but I just thought it was a good reminder and things that we can remind Lake Forest Park residents of. And and I'm a visual person, so I wanted to put it up for you too, but I'll just read these quickly because I thought these were some of the best impacts of trees on a community. So the net cooling effect of a young, healthy tree is equivalent to 10 room-size air conditioners operating 20 hours a day. That's from the USDA. The Forest Service has written that trees properly placed around buildings can reduce air conditioning needs by 30% and can save 20 to 50% in energy used for heating. And the Center for Urban Forest Research says if you plant a tree today on the west side of your home, in 5 years, your energy bills should be 3% less. In 15 years, the savings will be nearly 12%. And from the Arborist News, having large trees in yards along streets increases a home's value from 3% to 15%. So I thought that tied in with the what we're going to talk about doing, looking for places in Lake Forest Park that could use street trees. And then lastly, from the National Wildlife Federation, there are about 60 to 200 million spaces along our city streets where trees could be planted. This translates to the potential to absorb 33 million more tons of CO2 every year, saving $4 billion in energy costs. So again, I know that that's info that you guys all know, I'm sure, but I just thought it was good to put that back in the front of our minds. Let's see, stop sharing. Okay. Let's see. Let's do. We've got a few visitors, so let's go around and do quick introductions. And I'll just call on folks in the order that you're on my screen. So Cameron, can you tell us your position?
Hi, my name is Cameron Tuck. I'm the assistant planner for the city of Lake Forest Park, and I'm the staff liaison to the tree board.
Thank you. And then I have Steve Bennett next.
Hi, I'm Steve Bennett, planning director for the city, and I'm here to talk about the tree inventory approach.
Thank you. And you're in a vast library.
Yeah, it's actually a bookstore, but it's just a thing hanging from my wall.
That's really cool. Thank you. Okay, I have Dick Olmsted next.
Hi, I'm Dick Olmsted. I'm tree board member for about 3 years now, and a soon-to-be emeritus professor at the University of Washington.
So retirement is scheduled?
January 31st.
Wow. This month?
Yes.
Wow, exciting. You shouldn't mention that here. You'll get roped into doing more as a volunteer. Okay, I have Julia next on my screen.
Yeah, I'm Julia Bent, and I'm an original tree board member, and I'm working on the McAleer Creek restoration project.
Thank you. And then I have Marty next.
Marty Byrne, tree board member for about 6 months.
And Master Gardener, right?
Yes.
And then I have Doug.
Muted.
I've been a tree board member for about a year. I'm a retired professor of forest ecology at UW, already emeritus.
Thank you. And then let's see. I've got Bryn is the last tree board member I see. Bryn, do you want to unmute? And there you are.
Can you see me? No.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Oh, here. Does that help? There we go. There
There
we go.
you are.
Hi there. Sorry about being late. Bryn Holmesy, newest kid on the block, and former lecturer in landscape history and a real tree aficionado and tree hugger. And happy to be here finally.
Thank you. And then we have some visitors. I see John Brew. Would you like to introduce yourself? You don't have to, but if you want to.
Sure.
Tell us.
I'm John Brew. I'm on the board of the Lake Forest Park Stewardship Foundation. Been doing that about a year. Also active in our local libraries, volunteer. And I'm an amateur naturalist, retired electrical engineer, but I love nature. So I work in Grace Cole Park a lot, and that's about it.
Great. Well, thanks for coming. And I've got Mike D next. Mike, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, Mike T with the Lake Forest Park Citizens Commission. I'm the co-chair there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't see Julian Anderson, but I see his name. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, Julian Anderson. I'm also a member of the Lake Forest Park Stewardship Foundation, and I've been active in various ways in environmental matters in Lake Forest Park for 3 or 4 decades.
Great, thank you. Okay, so our next item is to approve our agenda. I know we had one suggested addition, which is to add a discussion or review of those tree code amendments that some of you who are on the board before I was presented to City Council a year ago, and they still haven't been voted on. And so we're, it's on our agenda to kind of push them in that direction. So is it okay with everyone if we add that to old business? Okay, I'll put that at the end of the list for old business. Does anyone else have anything else that you want to add to tonight's agenda? Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the agenda with that addition, please?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with that added in.
I second.
Okay, and a second. Okay, we've got Richard and Doug both seconded. Okay, all in favor of the agenda as amended?
Passed.
Okay, looks like everyone voted for that. Thank you. And then our next item is approving minutes, but I know you've been overworked, Cameron, but we've got kind of a backlog of those.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, since these are recorded, would it meet any requirements to just put a link to the recording on the city's website, at least until they're written up? Or is that something you want to look into?
I'm not sure. I'll go ahead and look into that.
Okay, because I know it takes a lot of time, but we probably should not have such a gap if there's some easier way than you spending hours rewatching the videos and typing them up. That'd be great. Do you want to let us know at the next meeting if that's kosher?
Yeah, and I assume that by then I'll have the bulk of those minutes for you all to approve.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
I think that
Julia.
would be sort of a short-term measure rather than a long-term, because I mean, people who want to know what happened in this meeting don't necessarily want to watch 2 full hours of video.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And it's a lot faster than you can watch a video. So
but maybe as a stopgap.
yeah, that's the word I want to
Stopgap
stop.
measure. Yeah, I see Julia's hand up.
Yeah, originally the tree board had a member of the tree board taking the notes. And when she left, Lauren took it over. But the original intent was for someone on the tree board to be taking the notes and not burdening the assistant planner with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So if anyone wants to volunteer.
That's a, anyone agree, a
Just saying.
fast typist? I know, don't all raise your hands at once.
Right.
You know, I think maybe we can talk about it next time, but since I knew no one would want to jump up and volunteer, but maybe we could just take turns, you know, just rotate each of us taking them for a month just to get it done. Would that be?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, let's table this idea. Let's talk about this at the next meeting, just coming up with some better way to do the notes without, hopefully without burdening Cameron and without one person having to do it all themselves.
It strikes me that it's a sort of task that is easier done by somebody who does it regularly. And
Yeah.
maybe the tree board needs to have a designated secretary who handles certain tasks such as taking minutes.
That is what we had before.
Mhm. Does anyone have the slightest interest in being our secretary?
No.
So that's the problem. That's the problem.
Madam Chair, could I
Let's-
weigh in on that?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I
Yes,
think
Steve.
you really have to decide what the tree board wants in the way of minutes. You know, there's a vast spectrum from what the council does to what the planning commission does. We do very detailed minutes for the planning commission because that's just kind of been a tradition. But the council has very, you know, relies on the recording lots. It just has a discussion about what action took place and who voted on it. So if the tree board is okay with that type of set of minutes, then we could, first of all, not only get caught up, but also, you know, set a model that maybe, you know, you as members might feel more comfortable taking on. But, you know, I think, you know, it's been kind of in our court, so we'll make sure that you get caught up with some sort of, you know, brief version of them and a reference to your recordings. I think that is a great benefit we have of this, you know, moving to this virtual process. But let us give you a kind of an example with these catch-up minutes, and then you can decide how you want to handle it after that.
That sounds good.
Sounds really promising to me because, you know, if somebody wants to know what was said about yada, yada, they could look at the video. As long as we have the videos available online, they could look at the video.
Yeah.
And you don't have half a page of what, you know, we talked about and what we decided particularly. So, yeah.
Yeah, is that okay with everyone if the minutes are just in a really brief format? Yeah, I'm seeing nodding and thumbs up just to get them done. And then, yeah, you're right. When the videos, now that we're doing Zoom, when the video is accessible, if someone really wants to know how the back and forth discussion went, they can look at the video. So
Are the
Okay.
videos stored, the minutes videos stored for any length of time? In other words, are they accessible for 3 months, 6 months, whatever?
Once we download them, they're accessible forever, as long as we're keeping the files. Cameron, do you feel like you have a pretty consistent set of videos, say over the last year or so?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay.
I would say since probably June or July.
Okay, well, we can just start, you know, making that a priority, and you know, if their time allows, you can even tag the minute document with the actual minute that discussion occurred, so somebody can fast forward to it.
Mhm.
that would be great. Just brief minutes.
I like that
Okay.
idea.
Okay, that sounds like a good approach. Okay. let's see. Oh, okay, citizen comments. Do any of our guests tonight have comments? I see that Mike D raised his hand. Hi, Mike. Do you want to make a comment?
Sure, thank you. Howdy, Mike D with the Lake Forest Park Citizens Commission. I wanted to thank you all for recording your meeting and would encourage you, as I heard it sound like you're going to do, is make those videos and recordings available so people know where to find them. To roll back to actually the public being able to find your meeting, if you go to the city website and you go to the calendar and you look it up, it actually doesn't have a link to the meeting, and I'll put in the chat what it does, which kind of implies that we're waiting for an agenda to show up, but people that are more familiar with the site actually probably found out where to find it. But it says this meeting will be held virtually. City Hall is currently closed to the public. Please review information provided on the agenda once it is available for details on how to participate in the meeting. So that kind of makes it sound like it's not available yet. And I got,
okay.
at 7:08, I got a link. I got a notify me text message from the city telling me about this meeting, and it sent me to that website and that calendar invite, but it just had that information. It didn't have a link to the agenda. And so I would encourage you to kind of, if you can, connect those. And I know y'all have in the past, it just didn't seem to happen today. So, all right.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know. Can that be added to your plate too, Cameron, to make sure that has the proper link for future meetings?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you. Any other comments from our guests or other citizens?
Margaret, this is Julian.
Yeah, hi, Julian.
Hi, just following up on Mike. I think it was very helpful that so many of the materials for this meeting were also secretly available. And it would be nice if they were more visible to an average person who might be curious about the tree board. They're on what's known as the tree board page, but the tree board page doesn't have a high level existence in the website.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think there are resources there, but as in terms of easily seen by the public, I don't think we're there yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I made note of that. I know some of us have on our work plan for this year to look into the information that's on the website and making sure it's up to date and making it maybe more accessible. Okay, our next item is to confirm the next meeting date, which on our current schedule would be Wednesday, February 2nd, but that's one of our new business items is to propose changing the meeting date. So I'm just going to kind of skip over that. Our next item under communication is any update on ST3, the bus rapid transit. Cameron or Steve, do you guys have any update on what's going on with that? Of course, our interest on this board is how it's going to affect trees, how many trees they'll have to cut down. And
yeah, I can address that. We're meeting on a pretty regular basis with Down Transit to get an understanding of where they're at in their design. I think in the realm of things they talk about it in percentages. They're at 30% design, and we talked a lot about trees a few months ago just to make sure that they were had an approach that would work for our permitting, and we can kind of cluster their types of permits, whether it's in the right of way, whether it's on private property, or in a critical area. Each one, and letting them know each one of those is going to be a slightly different process. And of course, exceptional trees, making sure they understand that that's going to be a pretty high hurdle if they run into an exceptional tree. So they were continuing to kind of winnow down their list of how many trees that they wanted to consider removal of, and whether they could tweak the project to reduce that number. So I don't recall where they're at now in terms of actual numbers, but I do know the number's been going down since the first one we heard, which was 500 or something trees. So that I think it'll end up being much less than that, but I can't tell you for sure what it is. But but yeah, if Cameron and I can remember, maybe we can talk before your next meeting, and I can give him some, whatever I know as far as up-to-date information.
Okay, thank you. So are they just at 30%? At the 30% design phase right now? Or they're?
That's the last I remember. I mean, I think they're working, that they've sort of passed that threshold. Now they're working towards I don't know if they're going to go to 50% or 60% next, but they're still, they haven't submitted permit applications for anything. So I think the process is moving a little bit slower than originally thought, just like lots of other aspects of the project due to the pandemic and other issues related to funding, which you might have been tracking as well. They've moved some things around, so we won't see a parking garage anytime soon, probably within my lifetime, or at least within my career time for Spark. But I think the bus rapid transit, is a priority for them.
Okay. So I seem to remember Ashley saying that the point where we could have some input maybe is when they're more like 60%, at the 60% design phase. Does that sound right?
Well, I think the time, we'll have a process, an official process once they submit permit applications. So, that would be the time where they've decided, they know what they're pretty sure about what their proposal is. And so as staff members, we can convey concerns you might have to Sound Transit if yeah, I don't expect them to kind of walk things out to the public before they actually have a permit application ready to go.
Okay.
So yes, but if that isn't the case, we'll get back to you and let you know if in the next meeting I find out that they were going to do some sort of public engagement.
Okay, thanks.
It seems to me once they decide what they want to do, they're not going to have a lot of flexibility about what kind of trees they want to take out. I mean, if you're putting a bus lane in, a tree that's in the middle of the bus lane is probably going to have to go. So I would guess that the planning for where the lanes go and how much land they take on each side of the road and stuff like that is going to sort of predetermine what their impact is. What we had talked about at the last meeting was what sort of remediation they could do in terms of either money or planting trees, which of course is much more flexible.
Yeah, and we can only enforce the regulations we have once they've submitted an application. So they are going to, whatever that requirement is, depending on the type of application required, it could be 1-for-1, or most likely is canopy replacement for most trees that are taken out. So we're gonna, we'll have the ability to require them to put it back. There is some question about whether they could, do a mitigation fund, and we could, have them plant them somewhere, that besides just along the right of way, where there would might not be the most viable place for a comparable amount of canopy. So we are looking at that, whether we could do some sort of maybe the mayor could do an emergency order or something to, or we could do a temporary regulation to allow them to do kind of the old, fee in lieu, instead of the planting a tree that might not be the right place for that tree.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else have comments or questions about that? Okay. Our next item is vacancies on the tree board. And John, are you by chance the person who applied? Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I know Cameron had said someone had applied. No. Okay. Well, you could. I know I put the word out to
I'm sufficiently bored. Sorry.
I
I'm on
put
3
the word
boards,
out
that's
to,
enough.
yeah.
But I'm supportive. I want to know more. I want to learn.
Well, I wrote to I know Julian and some of your fellow Stewardship Foundation folks, just kind of publicizing that we need another member. I would like to see myself replaced with a good person, because as I told you guys the last meeting, I'm moving to Briar. So it's, even though I love being in this group, it seems kind of weird for me to continue being in the Lake Forest Park Tree Commission when I'm not president anymore. But I don't want to, leave until I feel like someone has come on. So just a reminder that we can have 7 members. Yeah, hopefully someone from the Stewardship Foundation, it seems like, would be a great candidate, since you guys are interested in the city's environment. So hopefully that you'll have a member who might like to join. So spread the word. Let's
I think
see.
the regulations are we're supposed to have 7 members from Lake Forest Park, and then we can have 1 or 2 outside members.
Correct, yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe I will, if I can. We're having a stewardship training program that's a year long, and we're training about 10 stewards, and a number of them might be very nice candidates. And so that might be a pool of people to recruit from in there. Most of them are young and energetic. So definitely we'll bring it forward to those guys. And
Great.
so, among others, they're not on the board of the Stewardship Foundation, but they're all highly engaged. They're 6 months into I think it'll be about a 15-month training program. So they're all super people. So maybe that's a pool of candidates.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
I can give a pitch when I meet them next week.
Oh, good.
I'm
Good.
scheduled to do a presentation to that group.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah. Cameron, has anything happened with the person who had applied as of the last meeting?
Well, I was only contacted by a resident. They haven't submitted an application, but they expressed interest in joining the tree board. And that was after we had posted like a blurb about it in the city's e-newsletter.
Okay. Moving on to old business. The first item is the 2022 tree inventory update. And Steve, you are going to talk to us about that. Is that right? Yeah.
Sure.
Take it away.
Thank you. I sent you all a rough draft of kind of the document we're thinking about putting out, just to see what kind of level of interest there is from qualified consultants. And I think initially Ashley may have talked about it with you as a RFP, a request for proposals. And I'm thinking that since we're still kind of, our approach is evolving, it's that maybe a request for qualifications, which is more along the lines of, we're still working on our approach and how much we're going to spend on it. Whereas a request for proposals is, we know what we want the consultant to do, and we know kind of what we want to spend, and so respond specifically to this. So that's the sort of the overall nature of the document, and what the reasons behind just to asking for qualifications, because I think we may end up with kind of a hybrid approach. I think initially we talked Ashley talked about her being sort of a major contributor to this and the inventory work, and I think she still can be. What I want to make sure we have is somebody who can knit together what has happened, the Mike Woodbury's work on the 2010 inventory with whatever new data we have, and with an emphasis on understanding what's happening to the significant landmark trees on those sites, and giving, you some good information about, the status of trees as to the extent that they were measured, and the type of the species was determined. So that's why I think it'll be good to have somebody. There are a number, just in kind of a rough search of, there are a number of firms that do talk about their expertise with the iTree software. So I think we'd be better able to take advantage of all of our resources, including our city arborists and the rest of our staff, and possibly an intern if we can find funding for it. And that way, there's some sort of kind of lower skill level things that need to be done to contact property owners and make sure it's still okay to come on their property. That's kind of intern work that could be going on before the consultant comes online, or just, in times when the consultant isn't necessarily has to do anything, or Ashley doesn't have to be involved, just kind of supervise, make sure things are moving along at pace. So I wanted just to kind of see, what you thought about this approach, and also just kind of, we don't have a lot of long-term tree board members besides Julia right now, but there is a lot of expertise on the tree board, and so we want to make sure that you're comfortable with the approach as it evolves, and we are committed. I want to let you know that we're committed for getting this done this year, so I guess we could start off by just letting you know what we have and kind of what we're trying to understand. We have a set of paper files from the 2010 survey, but yet to encounter whatever it was that got uploaded into the iTree system back in 2010, 2011 that created that report that we've all seen. So I think that there's enough information there that it could be on paper, that it could be recreated. But I'm talking with Tyson Greer, who has some access to a Dropbox or a Google Drive that she has some files, and I'm hoping we find that. But I'm starting to think that what happened was that Mike Woodbury got all of his data together, and he had to upload this into iTree to create the report. And so there may not be a nice slick little Excel file where everything's already digitized or is in digital form. We may find in talking with people who have more expertise in this, that basically just kind of have to recreate that 2010. I hope not, but that's just kind of where we're at. We've got a lot of paper files that tell us what they did, and so that's why I think we wanted this hybrid approach of using staff and a consultant. So looks like Julia's got a question, so go ahead, Julia.
It's not a question, it's a comment that we discussed this when I was first on the board, and no one could find those files. And I'm not sure how much search was done then. I think a fair amount on Lauren's part to try and figure out where they might be. And at that time, if they exist, which isn't even certain, but they weren't located, and someone thought they might have ended up on a hard drive that got recycled. So who knows?
Well, we have a CD-ROM, but neither Cameron or I were able to get it to read on Mac or a PC. We're gonna see if our IT consultant for the city can get anything off of it that we don't already have.
Yeah, maybe that's it. That could be the report right there. I don't know. I'm just letting you know that we have looked for it before as a tree board.
I appreciate that. No point in trying to turn over stones that have already been turned over. So, yeah. So, other questions or comments?
Yes, Steve. Something I'd ask you that I thought would be good for you to talk about with the board is the idea had come up of the city potentially just paying Ashley for more hours since she's part-time, and since she's already on board, and that would likely be a lot cheaper than a consultant. So was your, what was your thinking about putting out the request for consultants as opposed to just having Ashley have some more hours to be in charge of it?
Yeah, I think Ashley could very well oversee the field work and make sure that we're getting accurate data. But the reason I'm suggesting, that I'm totally supportive of her having additional hours to do that work and make sure it gets done properly. I don't know that's really a good use of Ashley's time to become an expert on iTree when we don't know. We've been lucky to have Ashley for going on 4 years or so now, and we keep trying to increase her hours, and we may be able to do that again next year. But we're not really in a place to permanently add these hours. I think I can get support for the work related to the tree inventory, but it's I'm just not getting the kind of support I'd hope for giving Ashley additional hours on a permanent basis. So her 24 hours is pretty much taken up by all the permitting work, so any help you want to give us in terms of lobbying your favorite council member, it would be appreciated. We do have a great arborist, and it would be great to be able to utilize her more. So we're still working that angle, and I do hope that Ashley is able to oversee a lot of this work, because we get the best quality work when we're all invested in it. And but I want the ability to not have to rely on her whenever she's got all these other priorities to get it through the finish line. I'd like to have somebody like a consultant who I can have a contract with and say, you promise to get this report to us, and so that really is kind of the where we're at. We're still trying to figure out that balance. How much is just we need the staff and possibly an intern? How much do we need a consultant to kind of put that to do all those work or give us ideas about those workarounds that we may not have thought of?
So I missed a little bit earlier, but you were saying what you have and what you can't find in terms of data from the previous study. I have some files. I think Gordon sent them to me. It's a list of all the plots keyed in a way that I can't figure out, and what appears to be a list of all the trees that were found in an Excel file. Do you have that, or is this something different from what you have?
I have a list of all the plots and the coordinates, but I don't have a computer file that has all the trees found. So that would be great.
I'm not 100% sure that's what this is, but if I can share my screen, I can show you what the file looks like.
Okay. Do you want to, Cameron, can you make Doug a co-host? Or I can do it too.
Well, while he's looking for that, Steve, can I, do you think, just not to harp on this too much, but do you think there's a possibility that the city would approve increasing Ashley's hours temporarily just for the duration of the project?
Yeah, I think once we have a clearer idea how much time we want her to spend on it, when we can definitively say, we think 5 more hours a week, or over the 6-month period, she's going to work an additional 90 hours. Then we can show what this, we're getting funding through this. I think there's a grant out there we're going to apply for, DNR. There's KDC money, and there's also tree fund money if we need it. But from the standpoint of city accounting, it's not like your own books for private business. Well, we got more money coming in, so we can just spend more money on staff. We have to go through a lot of process, and the finance department may say, well, we have to do a budget amendment to do what you want to do. So I'm hoping that's not the case. We can just say, look, in the end, we're going to be in the red and planning, but we've got all this other revenue. So I just have to work out that and just have a very, succinct proposal. Here's how we're going to do it. And here's how we want to pay for it. So I think we'll be there in a month or two.
Okay. But yeah, that's a good point though, that if she has more hours, it would have to be, it would be hard for her regular work not to bleed into it. There'd have to be some clear distinction of, these are the certain hours she's just working on the tree inventory. Cause I'm sure just the regular permitting stuff could easily fill
Yeah.
5 more hours a week.
Right. Yeah, I
Wow.
agree. So that's interesting.
So can you see what I've got up now?
Yeah, we can see it. So you've got survey date, status, and distance. Yeah, Doug, if you want to send that to me, that'd be great. I think that looks like what we're looking for.
Okay, I will send you. I've got a zip file that I think this came from. I haven't looked at this for 6 months or longer, so or a year probably. So I've really forgotten what I've got, but I'll look and see what I've got and send it all to you.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
But this may be, and as I say, you say you have a file that says the locations of the plots.
Right. Yeah. There's no locational information in that, it looks like, but
I'll send you what I've got, and then that may help you.
Yeah.
One comment I had about on the plan that your RFP or I guess it's an RFP. I guess I'm a little skeptical about having a lot of the work done by volunteers. I'm not sure where you're going to get that many volunteers to. I mean, you had the work sort of being done by volunteers, as I understand it, and it's sort of overseen by the consultant.
That's exactly what it says. But what I was trying to convey with the header on that is this is what the 2010 inventory said, just to give consultants an idea. And then also, I would imagine that volunteer help would be a pretty small part of it. But I don't want to preclude the idea.
Oh, okay. This is the 2010 inventory. I guess I didn't read it carefully enough.
Yeah, that's okay. But so yeah, I mean, I think the great thing is that, now we can hone in on the sites where there actually were trees. All we have to do is confirm that there's not new trees in some of the sites that didn't have trees before. So you can make pretty quick work of ones that didn't have trees. I think you might have a subset where somebody's planted a tree, so you need to add those. But we can really focus on the sites where there were trees and where we know we already have permission to go on those sites. So I don't think it'll take us quite as much work as it did the first time. And I think Ashley and an intern and the consultant can probably handle most of it. I look at all the reports, and it really was Mike Woodbury and maybe one other person doing most of the sites. They weren't that, and it didn't take that many people to get it done.
Steve, can you remind those of us who are newer, was Mike Woodbury a consultant, or was he a tree board member?
Well, it was kind of unique. He was a tree board member, but he was also the city's consulting arborist.
Oh,
And so that was sort of a different iteration of the tree board. So he did. We were very fortunate to have him. He did a lot of that work voluntarily. And I think he paid him about $10,000 for what he did, which is quite a bargain, even in 2010.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have questions or comments about the tree inventory? I'm just, after seeing what happened, that it kind of petered out last spring, I'm just anxious for it to get going. So especially thinking about potential interns and, the college kids starting to look for summer work. Want to make sure we get good ones. They haven't already lined up another job.
Yeah, and that's another reason I wanted to let you know that we're committed to doing that, and we want to get this approach down and get the funding established, at least to the point where we can. I think the first thing we would do is hire an intern for whatever time they're going to work, and they can be doing a lot of groundwork, getting us organized with Ashley's oversight. And then once we know what we need the consultant for, we've already got sort of a work group set up.
Okay. Okay, anything else on this topic, folks? Okay. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. I need to take off, but I wanted to let you know that later on your agenda, you're going to talk about the tree board code, the tree code updates that are recommended.
Yeah.
I'll let you know that in talking with Deputy Mayor Cassover, she's very intent on getting to those hopefully in the first half of the year after we get the accessory dwelling unit regulations through their adoption process. So I just want to let you know that we're changing to a new deputy mayor. Most likely, my understanding is it probably would be Tom French, but I'm sure he's committed to that as well. They work very closely together, or have been, through the stuff that I've been working with them on. So, just want to leave you with that information. And so, thank you for your interest in this item, and we'll be in touch. I know you had a question, and I'll get back to you on some of the. And Doug and I hopefully will have correspondence with that information. So thanks again.
Thanks. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Thanks,
See you
Steve.
later.
Thanks, Steve.
You bet.
The next item is McAleer Creek project updates.
Before you go on,
Oh,
my
sorry.
computer froze for a few minutes. Did we talk about the council liaison question on the agenda?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Did I skip that? Oh, I skipped that by accident. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. That was under the item of vacancies on the tree board. I'll
It's
hop
probably
back.
a good thing to let. It's
hop back
probably a
to
good
that.
thing to let Steve have his part of the talk meeting anyway. So
Yeah.
it was good, actually good to get that done. But
Yeah, I did. I sent an email to two of the new council members, Larry Goldman and Tracy Furukawa. Is that his last name? Furatani. That's right. They both seem to have either professionally or personally an environmental bent. So I thought I just kind of put the word out to them like, hey, we need someone to take Mark Phillips' place. I hope you guys will consider it with your background and your interests. Yeah, apparently they choose, everyone kind of figures out their committee assignments over the next month. But if is there someone else that someone else on the council that any of you guys, any of you think we should try to recruit who'd be especially good? I know those two are the, two of the three newest members, so that they don't have the city council experience, but I thought it was good that they have the environmental interest. So we'll see. Three of us, Richard, Bryn, and I met with Tom French just before Christmas, actually, to talk with him about those tree code amendments, like when those might come up, our outreach ideas. And he, I'm kind of excited that he might be the new deputy mayor, because he actually said I might be able to get on the agenda in February, and that would be to kind of encourage the city council to vote on those tree code amendments. But Tom French warned us too that accessory dwelling unit code amendments are their first priority, so they might not get to it yet. But yeah, so hopefully within the next month, we'll know who our liaison is from the city council. I'm sorry, I skipped that. Oh, okay, so McAleer Creek. Julia, has anything gone on with that in the past month that you want to tell us about?
Very little. I did finally figure out that I could get an advance from Waterworks, which came into the city's coffers just this week, so that, gee, we can now pay our bills when the bills are due. So we've had one extremely patient vendor who we still owe money for since July. I emailed him today. He should be paid right away. And Cameron, did you get a chance to talk to the finance department about making sure to pay that invoice as soon as possible?
I haven't yet, but I'm gonna put it on my list to email Beth, she's the new Aurora, and copy Lindsay as well.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand what you said, Cameron.
I haven't had it. Oh, sorry. My internet connection, it's kind of unstable. I haven't had a chance to yet, but I will make sure to email them first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay, that's Lindsay, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just make sure that that invoice gets paid ASAP, please, because it's embarrassing. And it's principally my
Yeah.
fault because I didn't know we could get advances. So we have the money now. We're going to be planting sometime in the first 2 weeks of February. One of the nurseries will pretty much assign us a time when they want us to either have them ship or us pick up the bare root plants. And my plan right now is to go up to Bellingham myself and get them. We saved a lot on tax by doing that because the tax up there is much lower. And I have friends in Bellingham I'd like to visit, so I'm not being entirely altruistic here. It's pretty easy for me just to pick them up and put them in my car. And then we have a bunch of plants actually at my house because I brought the ones from Tadpole Haven because they couldn't keep them. And I think Richard has said he'd help me move them down to McAleer with his truck at some point. So if that still holds stick, that would be great. And then the majority of the plants are coming from another nursery, which is in Monroe. And the plan I formulated is to get those delivered a couple days ahead of getting the bare roots and pretty much get them distributed. I've divided the creek area up into sections, get them distributed into their sections. And then when we get the bare roots, we can distribute them as well. And then those from Applied Ecology who are doing the planting will have all the plants together at one time and say, oh, we don't want to put a sword fern right under a ribes because that's just not the way it works in nature. So these things can be spaced out properly. Don't anticipate any more invasive removal, but we will be going back next summer to work in the area and to weed it as necessary by hand. If some more knotweed is showing up in the creek, we may want to discuss spraying it at some point. There's no other way to get rid of it. But we pretty much got rid of it all this year, so hopefully not. There's also bindweed between the road and the creek, pretty much where 182nd comes in. And that's an issue. You really can't get rid of that without spraying. So I will do my best to be in touch with the Stewardship Foundation about that. I actually talked with one of the board members about that this morning. So that's pretty much it. Planning in the first 2 weeks of February. And before then, actually, I'm going to try and get some mulch in for the areas right next to the highway, where there's a lot of weeds that we removed as best we could, but it's where a car actually went off the road about 1.5 years ago. And this huge population of a noxious weed came in its stead. And we had the crew pull it all out, but there's still some around. And so I'd like to put something down that will smother everything. And then my contact at Applied Ecology informed me today it's better to put the mulch down now and then plant through it. So I thought she might want to do it the other way around, but she's right. If we do it the other way around, then we have to spread it around the plants, which is a pain in the ass. So it's easier just to plant through it. So I think it's called hog fuel or something that I can get at Pacific Topsoils. And they can just dump it and, and we can just let it sit there until the crew comes and they can spread it. The other thing I want to bring up is what I brought up a couple of months ago, which is that some of these trees that I've ordered are somewhat larger. They're not huge, but a couple of them are 5 or 7 gallon tubs of cedars. And we really do need to enclose them. And I'd like to use 4-foot tall wire to do that. And if we're going to do that, we need to make up cages. Now we can pay Applied Ecology to do that. But I wanted to find out if there were any volunteers on the tree board who, if I get the material, if they're willing to come either to my house or some other location and make up a bunch of these cages so that when the trees go in, we can protect them right away. I've done a lot of these cages myself. They're not a lot of fun, but you know, if you have some hot chocolate or coffee or maybe a little alcohol might speed the process, a little wine.
Might slow it, but it'd be more fun.
Yeah, it'd be a little more fun. And you know, I think John, you're smiling. You'd probably love to come join us. You're not smiling, John. Anyway.
No, I actually, you know, I would like to come. That's the kind of work I love to do. I was just smiling about alcohol.
Okay.
It would have a certain curve.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure to get your email done.
Yeah, maybe we can, should we send out a, do you want to send
so
out
I'll
an
send-
email with some dates
Yeah,
or
and
something?
again, emails to everyone have to go through Cameron. We cannot email each other directly. So I will
Yeah.
email Cameron to forward to all of us, and we'll CC you, John. Does Cameron have your email address?
No, I'll
Okay.
find a way to get it to him.
Get it to him. Okay. So that would be great. I mean, it would take 3 of us 2 hours. This isn't a huge deal. If you have a few more people, we could get it done pretty quickly. We'd save a lot of money, a lot of crew time on site, which is $50 an hour per person. And that would give us more for buying more plants as we need it. So that's where we're at. So I'd say it's going well. We can plant next fall. The grant expires December of 22. If it turns out, and a lot of the plants that we're putting in February could have been put in December. So we could potentially, the plants from Storm Lake and from Tridepole Haven, we could potentially do more planting in the fall before the end of the grant. If we find that the bare roots have not done well, they're not available until late January or February, I could in September get an extension on the grant, enabling us to go back and put in more that way. So we'll just I'll have to assess that in August and September. So that's pretty much it. It's moving along. Less than a year to go.
Thank you so much. I saw that, I think Marty had a question.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Julia, what's the time frame for making those cages? When are you talking about doing that?
In the next month, sometime in January.
Okay.
Because we're planning in February, but I don't know when.
Okay.
The first 2 weeks of February. So. I'll send out a little questionnaire to see who'd like to do what when.
Yeah. And does Applied Ecology, are they going to plant everything, or do you need help planting too?
No, I am talking with other people who've used a lot of volunteers. Volunteers often don't plant the plants correctly. So I'm just, you know, we've got the funds. I just want to get it done. I want to get it done efficiently and quickly.
Sounds
and
good.
the grant that we have does not require buy-in from the community. Some grants require that 10% of the work come from the community, but ours does not.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Julia.
The cages you're talking about are for beavers, is that right?
I'm sorry?
The cages you want to put up are for beavers?
Well, they're for deer in
Deer.
part. Actually, more the deer. The mountain beaver, there's a bunch of mountain beaver there, and I think they're going to predate mostly the ferns, but the ferns are all really small. And if they're not chewed down to a nubbin, they do come back pretty well, at least in my experience in my own forest. And, you know, I just want to make cages for the big conifers that we're putting in. So they're the most expensive, and we'll just have to see how it goes. I mean, if the mountain beaver eat everything over the spring and summer, then we're just going to have to reassess and do something a little differently.
Any other questions or comments for Julia? Okay, thank you, Julia. I know you've worked so hard on this. Our next item is things in the 2022 work plan. The first one was replacement tree plantings in the city. So we had talked at the last meeting about divvying up the that map. Let's see if I can share my screen again. There it is. Okay, are you guys seeing that map? This is the canopy coverage map. So we talked about coming to the February meeting with each of us having kind of explored one of the areas that has lesser coverage to get ideas for where we might want to look into tree replacement plantings. Let me zoom in. It doesn't have street names, so you have to just kind of go by landmarks, but you can see there's some areas that are really dense, and then like, oh, here's my neighborhood. It's not, doesn't have as many trees. So does anyone have a brilliant idea about how to decide where each of us is going to look and report back? See, like there's an area, there's an area.
I spent some time driving around in that quadrant at the northwest corner that it turns out is not in Lake Forest Park.
Where is up here?
Yeah, no,
Or you were over
there.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you were in that school.
That's
Yeah.
Shoreline. I'll
shoot.
continue to sort of do some exploration in that area where your cursor is now, just in that northwestern part of the city.
Should I look? I could do this. Like,
Yeah, north of Ballinger and west of 40th place. How's that? And north of 195th.
What are we,
Okay,
what are we
north.
looking for and how do we record it? How do we report it? back
Yeah.
to the group?
I was hoping you guys would have a good idea.
What I was doing is just driving around looking for areas where there especially are not many trees in the street right of way, right? Because that's the only place where the city can more or less ask homeowners to plant a tree if we provide the tree. We can't force them to do it, or shouldn't at any rate. So finding, streets that are under treed at their margins is probably the easy way to do that.
Okay.
35th, which runs north right through that section, just above your cursor, Margaret, over to the west just a little bit. Right there.
Oh,
that's
oops.
35th, and that is one that Tim Hahn had identified as having plenty of open space for trees, and I agree. It's a little weird up in there because a lot of the streets are lined with ditches between the gravel margin of the street and a person's front yard is a ditch.
Yeah.
And it's not clear that those ditches serve any function today. They seem archaic, but they're there. And unless we also provide topsoil to fill the ditch and a place to plant, they would be awkward sites. And we would probably need advice from a city manager on that sort of thing.
And now I'm realizing, I think maybe I was supposed to ask Steve about that, about the ditches, and I'll ask him, or maybe Cameron can ask him.
And the other person we should consult with is Tim Hahn. The last time we did a public tree planting where we asked the public if they were interested, he ran it. I was not on the board yet, or it was about the time I joined the board. Julia may have some recollection of this. But, he made it work over in the,
It was in my neighborhood, I think.
yeah, that's
Sheridan
right.
Heights. Yeah.
So you may have some idea. I don't know if he went door to door, or if he put out flyers, or what he did to try to find people who'd be interested in having trees. And they were street trees. They were small stature. They were not, big native conifers or anything, but they were things to go in the parking strip. It was in an area where there are sidewalks. Much of the rest of the city doesn't have sidewalks.
So how should we, do you want me to just kind of circle areas and then you can just kind of drive around the area or walk around the area and see if you just kind of report back, just initial report on areas you think might be candidates for street trees? Would that work?
Margaret, could you forward that map to all of us so that we can
Yeah,
look at?
actually, I think,
Cameron did last
yeah,
time.
I think Doug sent it out, or
Well, I didn't get it.
I can resend it. It's kind of, I think it's kind of a big file, so. Okay, should I just go ahead and you guys can tell me which area you might want to look in, and I can just put initials on it? Is that okay? And I can forward this to everyone, or
Say, Julia,
not sure
while we're still
how-
on it, Julia, if you can go back to your email from Cameron on December 2nd, you'll find this map as an attachment.
Okay, thank you.
So that, I live up in the north end, so I was thinking of that northwest area for myself.
yeah, like
But really,
what I,
yeah. Let's see, north of Ballinger, right?
okay, there's Ballinger.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we don't have to go down every single street, but even if we just do some, it's better. Some research is better than none.
Yeah.
And
West of Ballinger is pretty well wooded.
is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of like Louisiana or something. Okay. And Marty, what area do you live in, or would you be interested in looking at? Kind of, I don't know how well you can see this, but kind of looking at areas that maybe have a little less.
I have a basic question first. Which color indicates the tree canopy, the orange or the green?
Orange is trees.
Okay,
Yeah.
that helps a lot. I live in that northwest quadrant too. I live at 195th and 32nd, which is the same area, but I'm willing to look at another area.
Well, we can both work that area.
Okay,
If there's some overlap, that's not a big deal. But I think the thing is to look for, I hate to be it as fine grained as individual lots, but maybe block at a size, right? Block by block. Between this street and that street on such and such an Ave.
okay, I'll take a look at that map that Cameron sent out earlier and see if I can figure out what streets those are. It's hard to tell from this map.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of had Google Maps open side by side with this when I was.
Yeah,
looking
and
at
you
it.
can, I've got it zoomed way out. It's a little easier to figure out when they're close in.
The big white thing is the Lake Forest Park Reservoir. So you
Yes.
can.
Right
yeah,
there.
Yeah,
Horizon view.
Yeah. Horizon view, yeah.
okay.
Doug, I know you're down in Sheridan Beach area. Do you want to take a look at
I'm
something?
gonna be out of
down
town most of the next month.
there? Okay,
So I don't think I'm really gonna be able to do very much. The Sheridan Beach area, I don't think, maybe up the hill more. I think people down lower don't really want trees in front of their houses because it spoils the view,
yeah,
blocks the view of the lake. I could be wrong, but there's a lot of the area that's really under treed there looks to me like it's the area that slopes toward the lake. Now, maybe the left half
yeah,
there, maybe not, that may not be true. But
I think there's still the opportunity to put in street trees that grow to a height of, 20 feet in the parking strips that would not block people's views.
Yeah, like those beautiful trees in front of your house, Doug, and the cherries, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yes, those are. But the area over to the left there may be more possibility.
Okay,
Where
around
where your cursor is now,
around
because that's,
here. Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna give you okay.
Let me take a look at that on the,
Oh, getting better at writing with my cursor.
I would like to take the area that's, I've noticed the area, I can't see it on the map, but it's the area right behind the cemetery. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
Lake City? But it's right behind.
There's the cemetery, I believe. So maybe I should, isn't that right? Isn't that the cemetery there?
Yes.
Yeah. So are you thinking
so
of here?
that's, so maybe, so the cemetery is there.
Yeah, because there's Bothell Way.
Okay, so it's the, it's north of the cemetery, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can't go into the cemetery, can I? Well,
No,
let me
you can.
okay, give me the area up above north of Doug's.
Okay,
Yeah, that
like
area.
our own neighborhood, or like in here.
Well,
like
no,
there and-
up above, south, I'm sorry. Yeah, north of it. Yeah, that's it. But you have
Oh,
to
okay.
give me those street names because I'm not familiar with the neighborhood as well as you
Okay.
guys are. Yeah, that, perfect. Give that to me.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe, Margaret, you could send us
Yeah.
a note, individual notes with sort of the bounding streets for the area.
Yeah,
That would
I can
help.
do that. I can do that.
That would help.
Okay. And Julia, are you able to do any driving around and report back? And if so, what area do you think you'd look at?
Yeah, sorry, I have been at my computer. I do have that email and I didn't bring up the map.
Oh, that's okay.
I was thinking that area where they just put in all the apartments down by 145th, way down at the bottom. Further down.
Oh, down here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Good
yeah, look
idea.
at that. There's nothing right there.
yeah.
Okay, gonna circle that for, oh, that looks great. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. Okay, anyone see an area that I should take that pops out? I'm noticing like this area up here in the east. Yeah, why don't I'll take more of this area over here. Let's see. Okay, did I get everyone? Did I get everyone? Okay. Okay, so I'll send out, I'll try to I'll type up a general coordinates of those areas we just chose, and then we can at least, make an initial look at those areas.
Perfect.
See what we see. Okay. Any other comments about this project of replacement tree planting? I'll reach out to Tim too. Tim Hahn, the former chair who ran that. Okay. Okay, the next item is outreach initiative updates. Dick or Bryn, do you want to say anything about those, what we started looking into? No, I mean, I can.
I could remind, one of the things we had thought of was, how can we reach new homeowners? And, one of the ideas was to create a little flyer or something that could be distributed in some way. And it sounds like the people in the city were interested in and already had been thinking about something like that. We thought of offering some sort of a service for consulting, and that got shot down pretty quickly because of liability issues and so on. What was the third thing that we were, oh, the other was that there might be some value in outreach to arborists that work in the area. Just to make sure that they understand that they need to be assured that permits are in hand before they do work. Because there was some concern that they're not held to enough, there's not enough enforcement at the level of arborists. And I don't know how we would approach that, but we could start with those arborists that have permits to work in the city of Lake Forest Park.
Yeah, and I emailed Steve. I have to admit, I just remembered I emailed him today, so he didn't have time to answer my question, although he saw it and he said he'll look into it. The it had been mentioned, I think it was Ashley, I can't remember. Anyways, I think I understood that even when a tree company illegally cut a tree, that didn't necessarily affect their business license renewal in Lake Forest Park, which kind of shocked me that they could break the rules but still
I don't
keep
think
doing
that's
business.
the case. My memory, Margaret,
What's
is,
that?
my memory
What's
is
that, Julie?
can you hear me now?
I can, yeah.
Okay. My memory is that they would lose their license if they did an illegal act. So I don't know if you have to even just check with the lawyer for the city. I don't know.
I think what Ashley was explaining last time, though, was that while both the arborist and the homeowner could be held liable, it was usually the onus was on the homeowner, and that the arborist could be penalized, but removing the license was not something that would happen.
Okay,
first
well, I
offense.
wasn't there last time, so, yeah.
It would be a multiple offense. They might then consider pulling a license or not renewing the license.
Okay.
So I'll report back at the next meeting about that after I hear back from Steve, and if need be, maybe talk to the city's lawyer or something and figure that out, because that this is just my personal opinion, but that doesn't seem right. Yeah. So let's see.
Well, I think Dick is right that it should be a sort of a repeated offense kind of thing. I don't think
Yeah.
you want to pull their license for one mistake, but
Right.
to make a habit of it, then I mean, if they can't obey the laws of Lake City, they shouldn't be working on Lake Forest Park. They should be working at Lake Forest Park.
I can understand that a lot of arborists might want to take their client's word for it, that they have the permit in hand or one thing or another, but nonetheless, they have liability.
Well, yeah, but the permit has to be posted on the day that the removal takes place.
Yeah.
So they don't really have an excuse.
Yeah.
If the permit's not posted, they shouldn't do it.
And then who is held responsible for people hiring a fly-by-night person who has a rented truck, rented chainsaw, comes in and removes the tree? I mean, that's a huge issue, a huge issue.
Yeah, well, that's the
I don't-
homeowner.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah,
the homeowner.
I mean, I
obviously.
would think that would go to the homeowner.
Well, the homeowner
that-
is ultimately liable and
Yeah.
bears the greatest liability, even when there is a licensed arborist that is involved.
Oh, okay, that's good. And is Ashley pretty serious about leveling those fines and letting them know? I mean,
Well,
What about
does
that,
she
Dick?
back down?
at the December meeting, she talked about two violations that she was involved with just then, if you may recall. One was a new homeowner just moved into the area, didn't know the law, took down a couple of trees. And she expressed more leniency. I don't think she had, necessarily, they hadn't come up with a fine. And then the other case was the one that I had reported of 4 big Douglas fir trees taken down. Somebody who had lived here for a number of years. These were not These were huge trees without a permit, and she was very upset about that. And I think that she made some comment about how the fines are going to cost more than they paid for the arborist tree removal work. So that sounds pretty steep.
Yeah, she mentioned it to me when I talked to her about something. She said that the city heard from their lawyer, not from the people, and she passed it on to the city's lawyer. So it's now sort of in litigation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Boy,
They'll pay more for the lawyer than they pay for the arborist or the fines.
right, that's true.
Well, it probably means the fines are pretty steep, and if they felt that it was worth it to hire a lawyer.
Yeah, it was, there was a tree taken down early in my tenure. And the owner was fined 22 grand, and he took it to the arbitrator. The arbitrator said, no, you will pay the 22 grand. And apparently the guy was heard to mutter, it didn't think he was going to cost him that much. So he knew damn well what he was doing.
Yeah.
And he got turned in by neighbors.
That would be interesting for us to know, though, wouldn't it? Like how much do people actually end up paying? What are the fines, and how often do they get talked down?
Right.
Well, I'm sure there's a record of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into that.
The problem, of course, is that it may be months or years sometimes between the offense and the time that it's finally settled.
Right.
Yeah,
And so it's hard to sort of get a
It's
current.
hard to track. Yeah, takes years.
But it sounds like, it's eyes in the neighborhood that are catching these, because I think Ashley said the other people who were naive about the law, also it was somebody in the neighborhood who turned them in. I mean, obviously it's the police probably aren't trained to even think about it. Ashley can't be out looking at these things.
Right.
So.
But
it's gotta be-
if you see some illegal trees coming down, you can call the police and they will come.
Yeah. Well, if you see
If they
trees
don't
coming
have a
down at
permit.
all, it's probably worth taking a look to see if there's a posted permit.
Right. First, do that first. Right. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's the hope of Bryn and Dick and I on this outreach idea of sending information to people as they move into the city with, putting a positive spin on it. Here's, some benefits of trees to your yard. Here's the benefits of trees in Lake Forest Park. Here's some great resources. And by the way, saying in a nice way, you can't just cut down a tree. Here's a link to the code. So we're hoping if we get in there when people move into the city and educate them first, instead of having to go after code violators. Yeah, Mike D was pointing out that in the chat, I think that you can call 911. I know personally I'm hesitant to tie up the police lines, but I know that is what it says we're supposed to do if a tree is coming down illegally. Okay, I'm going to move on because we still have a couple of things to talk about, unless anyone else has something to say about our outreach initiatives. Okay, at this point, this is where we added the item of the tree code amendments. So that's not in your agenda. We added it when we approved the agenda. So this was, let me see if I can pull it up. Shoot, sorry. Oh, here we go. Tree code. Okay, let me see if I can share this again. Sorry, share screen. There we go. Okay, let's see if I can zoom in a little. Can you guys see that? Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this was as you can see, December 3rd, 2020. So this was more than a year ago. Dick, who worked with you on coming up with this?
Well, so the whole tree board was involved with this, Gordon and Tim and Julia and I, and trying to think of the name of the guy who was the chair of the tree board at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't Tim?
Before Tim.
Oh, okay.
So there were a group of us that worked on this.
Mm-hmm.
Went back and forth through many tree board meetings. Julia remembers that well, no doubt. And Lauren and was helpful too with a lot of the technical wording, and Ashley as well.
So there were these four main areas that you proposed, right? The preamble that spells out and clarifies the city's values and intentions. Then the second one was replacing the term stand with the term grove, because stand is more about timber, right? And then let's see, yeah, more the next 16.14.030 was defining grove, changing the dimensions of the exceptional trees, and a more accurate definition of topping. And the let's see, I know that the item about the exceptional trees, can someone remind us what that was? Was it that it was making all the exceptional trees have a standardized size, so there weren't so many different sizes to keep track of? Was that it?
That roughly, yes. There was, there's, I don't know, 6 or 7 species that are specified in the document, in the ordinance, that have a minimum size as an exceptional tree, and they were all over the map. I mean, it was almost different for each species. And so one of the things we wanted to do was to try to simplify that by coming up with a uniform diameter for exceptional trees for most of the main things, the conifers and big leaf maple. I think that madrone still has a smaller diameter, and there may be one other that was different, but what it did though was it reduced many of them to a smaller diameter to get the label of exceptional tree. And that's where there was some concern, I think, expressed by Mark, that some of the people on the council might be concerned that we're making it harder by making the exceptional tree size smaller for some species. But that was actually part of our intent, right? I mean, we want to save larger trees. We wanted to make it more straightforward in terms of interpretation. And that was our solution.
And it seems like this would be important to get the city council to pass before that ST3 project, when they're taking out a lot of trees, so that hopefully if this is passed, they will fit these new standards.
Mm-hmm.
And then this last item was, I don't think I understand that well enough. It's something, changes to the geotechnical code for trees on slopes in order to simplify it and reduce the cost to the property owner.
This was Ashley's contribution primarily. She had, for tree removal permits that are on slopes and in sensitive areas, there was a lot of difficult requirements on the part of the homeowner, and she wanted to try to simplify that and make it a little bit easier without, hurting the ordinance or the trees.
Yeah.
And so she did most of the work on that. I don't remember the details that much.
Yeah, I can make a comment on that. The concern was having to get geotech in, because that's very expensive. And personally, I've just wanted to I have put in a permit to take down a 10-inch alder on my property, which is the base of what's considered a landslide slope, because my whole property is considered a landslide slope. And so far, without taking the tree down, it's cost me $400. Between the permit, her inspection, and having to get a hazard assessment on the tree. Fortunately, the hazard assessment came back as high, which means that I did not have to get geotech. But if the hazard assessment was low, I would have had to have geotech. So it's extremely expensive to jump through those hoops. And, you know, I now have some firsthand knowledge of that. I think it's like $383 it's cost me so far. So that's just, you know, there's, and then this is to take down a rotten alder that isn't dead yet. You know, this isn't a nice tree and it is threatening my house. So after this experience, I'm a lot more sympathetic with the landowners than I was before.
So this change would make it a lot simpler, and maybe in effect,
Yeah.
encourage more
Exactly.
people to follow the book instead of just kind of cutting it down at night
And
without.
the
permission.
geotech is really onerous. I mean, that probably would have cost
Yeah.
me a couple of grand.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know those of you who, Dick and Julia and the others who worked on this obviously worked really hard and researched it a lot. So it was suggested at our last meeting that we not look into making any changes at this point, just kind of pursue what you guys already worked on. And that's one of the things that I asked, that we asked Tom French about putting forward to the city council, reminding them that they need to vote on this. And so hopefully they'll get us on the agenda if not the next month, in the next few months, and we'll remind them that they have these proposed tree code amendments. Did anyone have comments or questions about it? Okay, well, thank you for all the work that you guys clearly did on this.
I was kind of hoping we could look at the actual changes that we're talking about making, because that's what the council is going to have to see. I presume the council is going to want to see the actual changes in the code.
Yeah.
And Dick and I sort of communicated about this a month ago, and we both had the version that we talked about, I think in the December 2020 meeting. But I think that in that discussion, we made a few changes, or suggested a few more changes. We hope.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I know in my copy that I have from that date, they're all minor, adding a comma here, you know, and something like that. But I guess I would still sort of like to see the final version. I think the council is going to want to see the actual changes rather than this is the characterization of what the changes are about.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's available somewhere.
Yeah,
For sure. I might have it in an email. If not, Cameron should have a copy of it because I know Lauren had it made up. And it highlighted in red what we were changing, and you know, the whole thing was pretty well spelled out at one point.
Right.
I could.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I was going to say, I have, because that was one of my first board meetings, I have the all marked up copy, but we made a few more edits to that copy. And I have yet to see, haven't seen the sort of final version that incorporates the minor edits we made to that December 2nd copy.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing it either. I think I've heard about it, but I'm not sure I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't I work with Cameron to find that and have him send, should we have him send it out to, oh, Julian's saying, oops, I just lost his comment. Julian said, Tim presented to the council in 2020 and the council background should have a clear copy of the changes. So I'm sure we can easily track that down somewhere. How about we'll find it and have Cameron send it out to all of us. And how about we not, we won't push that to be on the city council's agenda until after our next meeting. So we can make sure that you guys have all gotten to see those.
I just pulled up the marked up copy that I have to to relay the information about the tree size changes that we did. There are 7 species that are designated in the document: big leaf maple, Douglas fir, grand fir, madrone, hemlock, western red cedar, and western white pine. And there, of those 7 trees, there were 5 different sizes that were specified. And so madrone stays at 12 inches. The others ranged from 36 to 44, 36 to 42, and we designated them all 36. So a few things, oh no, I think grand fir was a 33. So we moved that up to 36, and we moved maple, Douglas fir, western red cedar down to 36.
So how does that sound if we just send out, we find that document with all the changes, distribute it to everybody, and then at our next meeting, we can look over those changes and just confirm that everyone's okay with them? Okay.
Yeah, considering we have so much turnover on the board, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, okay. So we'll make sure that's on the next agenda. Okay, can I move on to our new business?
Yes.
Okay, we have a proposal to change the meeting date. So the issue was that when our meeting is the first Wednesday of the month, it's often very early in the month, and Ashley doesn't always have time to get the tree permit report to us in time. So it was, the idea was broached that we could maybe move it to the 2nd or the 3rd Wednesday of the month. How is there, Cameron, are you, yeah, you're still with us?
Yeah.
There was, I think were you gonna look into any conflicts with other city meetings? I can't remember where we left that.
Well,
Or is
so
it-
from my recollection, well, so Ashley had suggested either the 2nd or 3rd Wednesday of the month. Julia said that she's not able to make it to the 3rd Wednesday, to a meeting on the 3rd Wednesday of the month.
Okay,
Nor me.
Oh, sorry,
I
and
can't
Nick
either.
as well.
Yeah.
okay.
And so then we had, I guess we had tabled the idea of having the meeting on the 2nd Wednesday. I'm going to turn my video on. And the main issue with having it on the 2nd Wednesday is, so Tuesday, the 2nd Tuesday of every month is the Planning Commission meeting. Then the 2nd Wednesday of every month would be tree board. And then the following day is the city council meeting. So it would be kind of a lot for the public to attend, and for staff as well, if staff have to attend all 3 meetings.
How about a different day of the week?
So-
If we go to the 3rd, like a Tuesday of the 3rd week of the
We can
month.
do that. Yeah, I think that would be
Wednesday
a
of the
great.
4th week of the month. or something.
Yeah, I think that would be a great suggestion, or a great idea as well, because we're not really tied to Wednesday as the tree board meeting date.
Okay,
This meeting date, I guess, had been established previously. I don't know by who, but it worked then. And yeah, we're not, how do I phrase it? Like, we're not like tied.
not set in stone. Okay.
Exactly.
What are you doing?
So how about that suggestion of 3rd Tuesday?
Tuesdays are not very good for me.
Tuesday's not good for you?
No, I have a
Okay.
regular weekly thing on Tuesdays.
Okay,
How about the
actually,
4th week?
you know,
How
Thursday is.
about the 4th week of the month?
the 4th Wednesday of the month?
Yeah.
Let me look.
Is it anyone have an issue with 4th Wednesday?
No.
Okay,
There might be. It looks like
Yeah.
that's when the parks The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meets that date.
And is there any, do you sometimes have to go to both?
No. But I'm not sure if we can schedule two city meetings, like two city board meetings at the same time. Let me check with sorry.
Yeah, it is going to be nearly impossible to find a date that 6 people plus staff can all make, probably.
Yeah.
What about the third Thursday?
Third
Third
Thursday.
Thursday? That would
That's
work
a-
for me.
That's a city council budget and finance committee meeting.
Who knew our small town had so many?
I know.
You do.
Huh. I'm not sure what the solution is here, unless we keep it the same and then sometimes have just a lag in us seeing Ashley's report.
We could always change it to the first Thursday. That seems to be free every month,
And just give her a couple more days.
like an extra day.
Yeah, it looks like Mike D found something that's, I don't know if he's quoting someone or himself, but yeah, I think that's just generally a good idea, not have two city meetings at the same time. Okay, first Thursday of the month. Did you just say that there's another city meeting then?
No, that would be a day that's available.
Is there anyone?
It
Oh,
doesn't really help much. It's one more day. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I was thinking
What
today was
happened?
Tuesday. Yeah, so we might as
every
well.
7 months, it'll be a week
Yeah.
early.
Well, anyone else have an idea, or do we need to just stick with what we've got?
It seems that we should just stick with what we've got because
Yeah.
we've got a lot of people showing up and, you know, so we get the report from the previous month, you know, the previous month. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and sometimes it does work out that it's late enough that that she does get it to us in time. So okay, so we're gonna keep it the same. Is that that's okay with or does anyone have a problem with keeping it the same? Any tree board members? Okay.
But we can also just ask Ashley to do it the first half of the month, the last half of the previous month, and the first half of the next month.
Mhm.
The 15th to the 15th. I mean,
yeah,
months are
just
logical, but
change the period of her report. That would be an easy solution. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask if we can table this next item, the tree board statement to the city council regarding the strategic plan, because whenever we give that to whenever I or one of us present that to the city council, we'd be presenting at the same time our reminder and encouragement for them to vote on the tree code, which we're going to be now discussing at our next meeting. So is it okay with everyone if we hold that item for next month? Okay. Okay, so I've given you a whole 10 minutes, Cameron. Sorry for your Frontlines with Cameron.
I know it's okay. Let me share my screen. This is going to be relatively brief.
oh, Jesus.
Sorry, let me increase the window size. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay, is this legible?
It's pretty small, but I can see that's better.
Okay, so in December of 2021, a total of 16, or not 16 overall permits, but 16 trees were proposed for removal. see. There was one landmark tree proposed for removal. It looks like that permit hasn't been issued yet, so Ashley is still doing her analysis. And there's a total of 927 square feet of replacement canopy that will be required. That's required to be replanted for all these permits. Not a majority, but a number, I would say honestly, a majority of the trees that were proposed for removal were either diseased hazard trees or poor health. I know that specifically this permit O'Reilly, she came in, or the applicant came in because a tree right next to this tree fell on her neighbor's house. So she came in to apply for a removal permit. I believe it was an emergency removal. Emergency removal. And so I went ahead and processed it for her because Ashley was out of the office. But otherwise, does anyone have any specific questions regarding the permits for this month?
I really appreciate that you guys are putting the reasons for removal. That's really helpful to me to know.
They should say rationalization for removal instead of reason though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Bryn, did you have something to say? Your mic's on mute.
No, Cameron, that's very well done. No, it's pretty clear. What I find interesting is there are what, more than 3 alders there. That doesn't surprise me.
Oh,
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I know for the permit that I processed for emergency removal, the tree that had fallen on her neighbor's house, from what I remember, had laminated root rot, and it was affecting the other tree as well.
So hopefully it is reason and not rationale.
Yeah. No, it's completely rational to remove that tree.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else? Any other new and exciting news you want to share with us?
I mean, there's been a number of code enforcement cases that have come in through December. But I would say, to be honest, I'm not that familiar with the status of those cases because I haven't been working on those. But from what I remember, there were a number of what appeared to be unpermitted tree removals at the Carrie Lewis property.
Which property? Sorry.
The Carrie Lewis property.
Oh, remind me where that is, and in case other people don't know what that is.
So it's this pretty large property. I forget which street it's on. But from my understanding, they have cottages for seniors that are low income to live in, and the cottages are rent stabilized. So they had removed a number of trees last month before the snowstorm. Yeah, Mike D said 35th. I believe it's off of 35th. And they had removed a number of significant trees within wetland critical area. Me and Ashley performed a site visit at the end of last month, but it was really hard to tell to get a clear scope of the extent of the work and the removal done because there was a lot of snow covering the ground, and that could have covered some stumps.
So this was potentially they removed trees without a permit.
Yeah. within a critical area as well, within a
Oh.
wetland.
Yeah, so it's even worse.
Yeah. But me and Ashley, we're planning to do a site visit. I believe either sometime tomorrow or next week. Because there are critical area code violations that have occurred at the property as well, from my understanding, or we suspect that there are. So I'm gonna go and take a look at it as well, because I wasn't able to see much due to the snow. And I know that we're gonna have to go back when it's clear. So probably next week, I would say.
So were these removals done by the seniors?
No,
They don't have one come seniors or by somebody who owns
no, no. There's a property manager, but I'm not sure. I think they hired a company to remove dead trees, but I'm not sure what the story is, to be honest. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Cameron, do you have any follow-up on that tree removal, those big Douglas firs up on the pipeline? I've forgotten what the street was up there.
Oh, the one that you had yeah, so
I was up there just today looking, and it looks just like it was a month ago when you asked them to stop work.
yeah, so that case, the property owner's lawyer contacted us, and so their lawyer is discussing the case with our lawyer. And from my understanding, the city contracted an arborist to do an appraisal with UFS, United Forestry Services, I believe is the contractor. And from my understanding, the consultant arborist did a site visit yesterday. At least he was scheduled to. I need to follow up with Steve to make sure. But yeah, there was more than likely there was a site visit, an assessment done at the property for the extent of the removals. It looks, I found like real estate photos from 2019, and it looks like they removed a number of trees, quite a large number of trees.
Yeah, I think it was at least 4. I think there may have been a
Yeah.
5th one further over that I couldn't
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good thing for us to hear about at each meeting, is the code violations we've heard about at the previous meeting, you know, if there's any update on them. But it's frustrating to me too that we have to deal with code violations instead of people knowing beforehand what the rules are.
Cameron, do you have any sense for how many code violations a year are enforced?
I would say for tree code, at least 10, if not 15, maybe more. There's been a lot recently within the past few months. But when I first started working here last April, I would say April through July, I wasn't really aware of any active tree code enforcement cases happening. But I don't know. I just might not have been in the loop.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, I'll check in with Ashley to get a number, and then I'll let y'all know.
Yeah, kind of find out that question about, do code violators actually end up getting fined, or like what percentage of the fine do they end up paying? That'd be interesting to know too. So
yeah, I know. Well, I did. So there was a tree code violation that had occurred a few years ago, and they have been paying they reached a settlement with the city regarding the amount that they were fined, and they have been paying their settlement.
oh, okay.
For that, yeah.
And then does that go into the tree fund?
Correct. Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Oh, good.
And the overall settlement amount was pretty hefty.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, we got to plant more trees. So
Yeah, we got to get out there and
use
catch
the
those
money.
code enforcements too.
Yeah. Got to bulk up the tree code.
Yeah, I mean, code enforcement could be lucrative, very lucrative, especially for tree code violations, because trees can have pretty significant valuations.
Yeah,
If you're removing a tree, well, and the other thing too is if there isn't any evidence of the health of the tree before it was removed illegally, then typically from what Ashley's told me, and what she'll do is she'll start the tree valuation at the highest number, so at like the peak health, and then if evidence is given that the tree was in poor health or like okay, like mediocre health, I don't know what
Yeah.
the terminology is, then that sort of chips away at the valuation of the tree, at the value of the tree, but it can be pretty significant,
yeah,
like $20,000-$30,000.
yeah. Well,
We can plant a
better
lot
for
of
them
trees
to
with
just
that.
not cut it down in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Cameron.
yeah. Do you have anything else for us, Cameron?
No.
Okay,
I move we adjourn. Is that the
I-
next item on the?
with that
A
adjournment.
motion for
Yeah.
adjournment?
Well, the agenda for the next meeting, I've made some notes of things that that we've said we'd talk about at the next meeting. You all, if you have agenda items, we can email them to Cameron. So let's go for a motion for adjournment. Thank you all for hanging in there.
I move we adjourn.
A second. Yep, I'm sure everyone's in favor, right? Thank you, everybody. Happy New
next
Year.
time.
Happy New Year.
Good night.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Eric.